Well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm happy to have Mike Murphy here, president of AllyFuels. I'm Chris Henry, the president of BizSpeed. We do these a month, 2 months or so, just as a best practices workshop. We've started working with Mike, and I thought that it would be great for a number of reasons. Mike's got a ton of industry experience, over 20 years. He's run companies that are fuel distribution companies. He has software related to fuel distribution companies, and he's one of the companies that started to use AI in fuel distribution and some of the customer interactions. And I think that that's a pretty interesting aspect. I'm excited to have Mike here. I mentioned that we've done these in the past. And here's some of the other ones that we've done. Last March, we did multi-compartment routing. We did bulk analytics. In July, and I'll kind of jump through here. In July, we did next generation ERPs with iRely, and then for this one, we've got Mike with AllyFuels, and it's more than just rental fuels. Next month, we should have a NetSuite discussion as well. So overall, yeah, so this will just be, I'll go through some introductions and the goals of these, and
Yeah.
then we'll get into the interview. This is all about Mike and his experience. If you've got questions, go ahead and put questions in and raise your hand. And Charlie's our sales director. Charlie will make sure that we get those answered so you can ask questions that way. I think people in the past have said that they couldn't do the chat. I'm not sure you can do chat, but you can do questions in there and raise your hand, and we'll make sure we get those introduced. So again, I'm Chris Henry. So I'm going to ask Mike just to spend a couple of minutes and tell us about your background, AllyFuels, and the company overview and how you guys got started. So, welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Chris. Chris and Charlie, appreciate that. Yeah, so my name's Mike Murphy. Been in the business for 20 plus years. Started and still focus on a very niche market, and that is, typically red dye diesel. It's for construction applications. And also what I focused on, which is another niche, but not a small one, is equipment rental companies. So, the guys out there that are renting equipment to contractors, I've always had a very tight relationship with them, and really focused on that for since I started in the industry. Started a fuel company called Murphy's Petroleum, exited out of that, and then came back to LA, my hometown, and got back into it. I just love this industry and realized that I think I had something special to provide the industry, and wanted to do things a lot differently. So when I set up shop in LA, I really focused on the customer experience, and that's where we started building the software. I think, gosh, way back, this is over 10 years ago now. This is back when apps were getting really exciting. So we built a very simple dispatch and mobile order solution for my own internal company, because what I saw was the pain of trying to manually manage that stuff was just brutal. So that's kind of where we got our start. Um, I'm sure we can talk about it, but what happened was I got so excited about that integration, this app I built. I went to every single fuel supplier in the state of California, number one, and showed them what I got. And man, I wanted them to use it, share it, and at the time, I thought I was probably the worst salesman on the planet because nobody wanted to use it. What I now realize, now that I'm becoming wise, is the market wasn't really ready for that. It wasn't really ready for the integration. It wasn't really ready for the shift, the disruption, which I think, Chris, Charlie, I think you guys realize the market is shifting tremendously. I think this year, especially, um, I'm getting calls and meetings with people that never was possible in 10 years. So that's kind of the start of my roadmap. And then what happened, like I said, I tried to show people this dispatch and mobile device. They weren't having it. And I quickly pivoted, right? Everything in software is about a pivot,
Yeah,
right? And you smile, Chris, because you know
yeah.
what I'm talking about. So we quickly realized that that's probably not a good idea. And there's people out like BizSpeed and other companies that do a great job. They were already so far ahead in terms of back office integration and just really understanding every little pain point that jobbers, fuel suppliers have. So we pivoted to the customer. And like I said earlier, our customers are contractors, equipment rental companies, anybody using dyed diesel for, emergency generator power. And we quickly went to our first and my favorite customers. I like to say that because I just have so much love for the industry is the equipment rental guys. So um, we started asking them questions, and I realized, and I still, my team gets mad at me. I hate spreadsheets. I hate them. I'm just not a numbers guy. My brain does not work that way. But this entire industry is based upon spreadsheets. And so I realized that if I can take the data that is important to them on those spreadsheets and add it with this layer of technology, I think I can change their lives. And that's what we did. And it was super exciting to do it. And we haven't looked back. It's like an overnight success story of 10 years, but this software has been running for our customers, equipment rental and contractors for 10 plus years now. And I think that it's just getting going.
What was the background on the equipment rental? Why did you focus on that as opposed to fleet fueling or on-site fueling? And just for a background for people that may not know us, we're a petroleum logistics company. We've done petroleum logistics mobile apps and routing apps since 2006. We started in 2001. But yeah, just so why did you pick the rental side of things?
Well, like I said, my focus was that. It was, my relationships were really tied deep with the rental sales guys, people renting equipment. And, I call it the three evolutions, these sales reps, these branch managers, people in the rental world, they rent a lot of equipment. They rent equipment that your customers are probably providing fuel service for. And the first evolution is they don't know how to manage fuel, so they just say, "Hey, call Mike. He'll take care of it." So what we realized here in California, especially because I think we really evolved the marketplace a lot longer than a lot of states, where we can provide the service, but then send the invoicing to the rental company so that they can keep everything in house. They can bill the customers. We really solved that pain point. So I focused on what I knew, and I know rental company and their pain points in terms of managing fuel. So my goal number one was to get them off spreadsheets, right? And
Yeah.
in doing that, and that's really where the start of Ally Fuels is I went to there's everyone knows there's very large and small brokerage firms, and in our industry we call it pushing paper. Like we literally call brokering pushing paper. And that's how it's still done today. So if I've got a friend, a fuel supplier, let's say in Ohio, and my customer locally is going to do a project out there, I can call my friend and we can push paper together. I can keep my customer happy. Um, and so I realized after we kind of figured out the rental side, I realized that this is a much greater, much larger opportunity. And I focused, I went to these managers, these brokerage firms, and I really tried to push hard for a licensing type of deal where I can just share what I built, this product, and let them use it, and I can show them how the customers really appreciate it. And that kind of again fell on deaf ears because it wasn't, well, it might because of my salesmanship, but it's also I just think the marketplace was not ready for that.
But as you and I have started talking, we share a number of customers. So we have a lot of
That's right.
logistics customers that are on your platform that are partners for you. So you
Correct.
have a maybe not you have effectively a national footprint now, right? So you
Correct.
not only, you partner also with fuel companies. So if you're a fuel
Yes.
company on here and want to talk to Mike about you when
Yeah.
so what how does that process work? You
Yeah. That Chris, that's actually probably the most important thing in terms of, our discussion today is I'm not here, I'm one of you guys, right? I'm not here to hurt your relationships. We're just enhancing it from our mutual customer by adding this layer of technology. So if you have a contractor, let's say, or a equipment rental company, and they create a job on our system, right? It's so simple for them to just create a job that sends a notification, and then we can send it off to our network, our partners, our fuel providers out in the field. Now, we meet everybody where they're at, and that's why I'm excited about what your product does and what we're looking at and what I think the future is. the future is going to be customers on our platform creating the jobs themselves, and they can shoot over a new project over to our partners. So if we have a jobber in Ohio, that data can be sent via an API connection, and you have all the data because, again, our market is still very old school. We are still getting data by a text message, a spreadsheet, a Google sheet. We're going to be eliminating that through technology. The relationships stay the same, but right now today, AllyFuels was created because we had to validate this idea, right? We couldn't get anyone to license the platform we've already built. So we decided 3 years ago, let's just validate what we think is going to happen. And that's where we're at today. We're in over 28, 30 states now. But what we're seeing the big shift is jobbers, fuel suppliers are realizing this isn't hurting our business at all. It's actually enhancing it if we can meet them with software, right? That's going to be the big push. I think it's the most important piece is, and I think the local guys here in California that we're already, working these relationships, they're starting to realize that this isn't hurting at all. It's just going to make you stronger if you are tied to software.
And then, so when you think about the state of the fuel market, I mean, it's kind of
Yeah.
funny because you talk about spreadsheets and we talk about paper. We definitely are moving some. Historically, we were always moving people off of paper dispatch into an electronic
Yes.
dispatch. Maybe spreadsheets are one step ahead of that, but
Yeah.
we still see people. I still see a lot of people managing on Google Sheets and trying to share
Yes.
things. And it's like,
Yes.
yeah. So, how would you describe the state of the fuel delivery market, and what do you expect in the next 2 to 3 years? What are some changes that you expect?
I just watched the movie Lord of the Rings. You remember that great movie, the trilogy, whatever. I don't know how many movies there are now, but I relate the fuel industry to like Greek city states or medieval castles. Okay. Everyone is so in fear of technology and keeping customers. They're not realizing that, the gunpowder that's about to explode is software. And you shouldn't be afraid of it. You really should embrace it because customers are demanding more data. They want to see what's happening. I mean, you can order. I say this sometimes in presentations. You can order a burger and fries and a Coke, and you can see it being tracked to your home. It'll notify you when you get there, but you can't track 20,000 gallons of fuel. Or
Yeah.
the market suggests. We tell our customers right now. The market tells us that. Best case in terms of partnering with jobbers is we try and get invoices to you in 3 business days. And it's not the software holding it up. It's because the jobbers are still manually, the manual processes are still in place, right? The moats, the castles are still in place. And I think when that changes, we're really going to see some amazing new enhancements. And I think relationships are going to grow. I really do believe that, So the state of the marketplace is still there's very legacy related processes, and let me tell you, there's some amazing manual dispatchers. The systems out there. I've been to some job distributors, some really big ones, and they have their back office with just literally stacked with invoices. Like my head exploded. And this is like 10 years ago, but it's also today. There are great fuel suppliers that are still manually processing paper. And I think that's changing faster than anyone would ever have thought.
I think the one thing you guys bring to the table too, so we obviously can address the delivery part of that with the
Yeah,
routing, dispatch, and the mobile app.
that's right.
And we have a customer portal, but you guys really have driven things more from the rental side and the customer interface.
Yes.
And I think you've talked about you might want to talk about your roadmap too, but you've talked about some interesting things with rental companies. And there's obviously, and we have rental customers too, and we've done the back office integration with
Right.
Texada and some of those rental ERPs. But
Yeah.
um, I think you had some interesting things that you were talking to the rental companies about in terms of, hey, when you put a piece of equipment in, wouldn't you like to start, ask if you want to deliver fuel at that point,
That's
right?
right. No, yeah. I mean, we know that rental is it's a very competitive marketplace. There's very large guys, and there's small, mid-sized, family-run rental houses. And we think that the easiest revenue stream that really is overlooked is fuel. You've got a piece of equipment that burns diesel fuel. And like I said, there's evolutions of this workflow, but basically, most parts of the country, they rent a generator and they literally just say, "Hey, call this fuel guy. We don't know how to do it." So why don't if you get your salespeople to say, "Hey, would you like us to manage fuel for you?" They're going to say yes 9 times out of 10. So we bring that front end layer of technology. We bring that software. It takes our customers a minute to create a job. And like you mentioned, in terms of workflow and really getting connected with software, we see such tremendous gains in terms of just getting into that flow. Where we have an API connection to where when that reservation ticket, when those rental companies create that job for a customer, they can just send it immediately to our software and we have all the data. And I'm sure your customers will say the same thing. It is incredibly detailed, and it's incredibly, there's so much data involved in construction, refueling, rental. There's so much stuff to it. It's very complex. And so, pictures are worth 1,000 words. We're able to upload pictures, pins, like we can paint a story to each job to make it super easy for any jobber to have the data they need. But that's going to take an API connection. That's going to take softwares talking to each other. And I've never been more excited. I believe that 2025 is really the start of the new future, which to me, the biggest word I think in our marketplace should be integration. I think that's going to be what drives everything.
We typically, when I've done these, I've done them in a, let's talk about strategy, processes, people, and technology. So just in the interest of time, we probably should talk about the strategy side. So
Yeah.
how does somebody, when you look at this from a strategy standpoint, how does a customer know they need to review their fuel management?
Yeah. Great question. If you are on a spreadsheet or using Google Sheets or texting email, is if that's the way you're managing your fuel for a job site, you need to get on software, because I'm going to save you 30 hours a week for your team easily right off the bat. In terms of a process, it's super easy. It's a login, and in 30 minutes you can figure out how it's used. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like the tactical, you need to start really figuring out how to manage fuel a lot better, because the old ways are going away. And it's not going to be overnight, but the shift, every construction firm, large ones, we're talking to a very large contractor right now, and we're super excited about it. It's the needle's being moved. The customers are getting smarter. They understand that, hey, I should be able to get a delivery ticket once it's delivered. And companies like yours are doing that. But what needs to be done is, software needs to talk to each other. Our customers who are using our front end solution to manage their fuel, they want to see data from your customers. That's going to be the big transition right now. And I think that if you are a rental house, if you're a contractor and you're using spreadsheets, if your estimators and PMs are not even thinking about fuel prior to landing on a job, I think you're already way behind, and it's time to make the move to 2025.
So how do you get them out of that tactical, let me just get
Yeah.
fuel for this generator right now, and I'll worry about it later. How do you
Yeah.
get them out of that and get them into the strategic side where
Yeah. The beautiful thing about our system is, we like to pitch, you give us about a minute of your time, you create the job on the system, and then we handle the rest. You're not having to touch, filter, check your inbox for an invoice. Everything is sent, and this is where we've already been using AI for over a year and a half, maybe two. We're able to read invoices, and without human hands, we are implementing it and putting it into the proper job and the ship dates. So that is without any of the customers having to worry about that. And that's a very big hassle. And we've solved that. We're doing this daily, where we're reading invoices. And I think the next step of that evolution is customers will see that benefit. And then, what we think strategically long term is, let's get you on software, get you off paper, and then let's get you to tell us what your other pain points are. What do you think the future would look like? And that's where we're really excited.
I think when we talked before, you talked about some contractors as well as some rental companies, and where they have many, like, especially when somebody has multiple locations and there's not, that's
Yeah,
typically been part of the software answer, right? It's like, hey, if everybody's managing things on their own, you don't have a good way to
that's
manage your
right.
fuel spend because each contractor, and you don't have a good ability to do any kind of volume discounts and other things like that, or have visibility into it, right?
That's right. No, and that's the discussions we're having now. The corporate side of this is really taking a hard look. They realize, wow, technology is really coming up and we should have a lot more data. And these large contractors, in multi-states, they're typically opening up credit apps with, 20 different fuel suppliers. And, that is still in play. I just think they're getting smarter about what they're spending and, how to make it more efficient. And the only way that's going to be done is by a network, a partnership, that's what's exciting to me because, that's where I come from. I don't want people to tell me what to do or forced onto something. And I think what we're doing now, the big change we're seeing is we're not threatening anyone and their relationships, but they're going to start realizing, wow, if I really play ball here, if I have software that can send it over to Mike's software, we're really in a good spot. We have great service, right? And there's some amazing suppliers out there with great service and knowledge and but if you're behind in software, you're going to be really behind in the marketplace.
Is from a strategy standpoint, do you find people looking more at the labor saving side? Because I know that was one of the things you said, hey, I'll show you somebody that was your same size and you don't
That's
have to
right.
be very big, and they save 30 hours a week. Or do
Yeah.
you find it more on the pricing and the fuel management side? What is the strategy driven more by? And it could be different by different
Yeah.
sizes or whatever, but
I think for the rental side, I think it's literally just the man hours, the frustration, the hair pulling of trying to continually edit a spreadsheet. That's gone away. No one's on spreadsheets anymore once they use this. So that is the biggest ease. And then what's exciting is, this thing's been running for, like I said, over 8, 10 years. And in the beginning, we were enhancing everything. Everything they told us, oh, that'd be great if it did this. And we just went to town. I mean, the amount of money we spent on integrations and enhancements, like it was, well, it was stressful, but I look back at some of the amazing enhancements we did early that are still working. I'm like, wow, I remember that was such a big milestone. But I would say this, the amount of hours we are saving them is number one, but long-term strategy, you're absolutely right. These guys are really now looking at, well, we're spending a million, or we're selling 1 million gallons in one region. What can we do about savings? And who do we have in this marketplace, these jobbers, distributors, that are more efficient and data. Like I said, I just had a call yesterday. The biggest questions now, they're loving the software. Now they're saying, okay, your partners, how fast can they get invoices to us? That right now is the next step. And that's where,
yeah,
Chris,
that's where we've been talking about working
yeah,
together so that somebody, because I think we have
yep,
maybe like 8 joint customers
yeah,
and
that's
working, and
exciting.
we do the same thing with Mansfield. So if somebody's a
Yeah,
Mansfield, if they
yep,
deliver from Mansfield, we have a interface to Mansfield's D1 that we can
that's
we
right.
can send the Mansfield orders out, and we would do the same thing here.
Yeah,
And it feels like, and we have some large customers, like a couple hundred fuel trucks
yeah,
that distribute for you. As well as some that have 5 trucks. I mean, you've kind of got
that's
a,
right.
a whole network. So
That's right. We're meeting the cool thing is we're going to meet you where you're at, but we do think, and we're on my end is this, I've learned that, I had to go against the castle and the moats, right, for 10 years where everyone's just shutting the door and don't want to talk. Now that drawbridge is open, right? The gunpowder is about to ignite. And I think people are realizing that, this isn't really a threat. This we should embrace the future. And I think, on my side, I'm telling the customers, if you push a little bit and you tell these fuel suppliers, hey, you got to get on board, right? You need software. I need to see that delivery ticket. And if you have software, great. That should be integrated with Mike's platform because it's all about that modular. I think about this industry as there's a big block 427 Ford motor, right? And we are the supercharger on top. We're just something you plug in. That's what I mean by an API. We're modular. Chris, your platform is the same thing. We're not here, I don't want to argue that I know everything and I have all the answers, but we certainly have a place, and our supercharger is going to make it more powerful, more efficient for our mutual customers, and that's where I'm getting super excited about it.
What we've seen is, it depends. We had customers that are in LA, and if you're in California and in a big metropolitan area like LA,
Yeah,
there's a demand for that visibility. And then we
that's
have
right.
customers that have rural deliveries, and they're like, you know, my drivers know people or whatever. But I do think you're right that we're seeing it change, and it's that
Yeah,
same Amazon effect where, hey, if
that's
you
right.
can get a $20,000 fuel order, why can you not track that the same way you can track a pizza
That's
or an
right.
Amazon delivery or something like that? So when
Yeah,
somebody rolls this out, like, so if they're a rental company, so let's kind of talk about two different scenarios. If they're a rental
yeah.
company, do you see them typically rolling out by location, or do they roll out? So this is kind of in the process thing. How do they get started with you? Do they
Yeah.
pilot at one location, or do they do multiple locations, or?
Well, in the dream world, right, they would just give me every single branch in the nation and we'd be super happy about that. But that's not the reality. The reality is, it first started, of course, the organic, local business that knows, the local branches and companies that knew me. And we provided the system. We did a test pilot, and that was super exciting. And we've just grown, you know, we're a small firm in terms of, we don't have any funding. We've bootstrapped this thing to success, but we also have grown organically. We have customers that have locations nationwide, and we've just grown organically by word of mouth. And that is, I think that's a testament to the platform. I think the simplicity, like I said, in fact, I'm having a call after this. We give people a login credential. You get an email, and then you're in. And then it takes. We don't have to sit there for 3 days with a large project team. It's not confusing. We can usually do it over a Zoom call like this, and I can show them, here's how you create a job, and this is what happens when you do, and they're off to the races. What I'm amazed at. I'm getting a little older and wiser, I think. But the youngsters coming in are already into this marketplace. They get it. I mean, I had an amazing meeting with a branch manager, and in 10 minutes, all of a sudden my email notifications were blowing up because he was on the phone with me, and this guy was creating jobs on our platform, test jobs. He goes, "Oh yeah, I got it. I got to go, man. I got it." I'm like, "Whoa, okay." These guys are smarter than I am, and they understand technology, and so it's not a difficult rollout. It's really about sitting down. What are your pain points is the most important thing, but also, what do you want to see? Do you want to just do a test run first, or do you just go bananas and do it all at once? You want to hit a region. So we've kind of had both. We had a really big campaign in the beginning of the year in January, and we were able to really open up a lot of branches for a large customer very fast. Within a month or two, everybody was online and everything was working. So that's exciting.
Got it. What what should somebody know if before they get started from a process standpoint, what should either a contractor or a rental company know just to improve the process overall? What would you like them to know, or what needs to happen from a process standpoint?
Yeah. Like I said, it's simple to log in and understand what the system does today. So it's really about listening to the customer and their biggest pain points. We always like to ask those questions like, what's bothering you the most? And, we've got 10 years of experience on that. So we never want to guess, but we know for a fact for the rental, I know there are 2, 3 top pain points. And the good news is the platform has solved 90% of those workflows and those problems like we talked about. It's spreadsheets, it's manual legacy, standards. So that's exciting. Now contractors, I am super excited about that side. That is another piece. It's extremely complex. You can have a job site that has just one generator powering a trailer, or you can have a mega project with multiple large fuel storage tanks. They want to build all their GC. The GC wants to build all the subs on a job. They want to know, can we do that? Is there tax implications of that? Like, it can get very complicated very fast. And like I said earlier, that is going to be part of a modular campaign, right? We're going to integrate with software that's already there, like yours, like BizSpeed, or you know, uh, tank monitoring applications. Telematics is going to play a very big role. I think telematics is an exciting piece and a component. So it's really about listening to the customer and going to the first pain point first. If we solved it already, great, let's go. But if not, let's talk more about it.
You guys, and so from a technology standpoint, tell me about what you're doing with AI, because you mentioned it a little bit earlier. We are
Yeah.
doing some things too in terms of reading BOLs, but you guys have done it for a while.
Yes. Yeah. And that was, I would say, in terms of like a big aha moment in terms of where we're at now in Ally Fuels, um, we always say we're going to meet any fuel supplier where they're at. And where they were at is they can send an invoice and the delivery ticket, right? That's where they're at.
Like by
So,
email, a lot of that, right? That's what you're saying.
yes.
So it's like you can
Yes,
read
sir.
it by.
Yeah. So, yeah, 100%. So we are meeting them where they're at. And through that, I got to say, my co-founder, Chris Black, he's really the guru of this. I mean, it's been 2 years now, but I texted him late night saying, what if we can read those invoices as soon as they come in? And so that's where the AI component comes in. And we've been doing that. We do that daily. It's amazing how efficient it's made us, but also how exciting that is. Like, holy smokes, we've really circumnavigated that moat, that legacy where I'll send you a PDF file of your invoice and delivery ticket. And today that's still the reality, right? But we've avoided that backlog of that manual process. We've really streamlined it, and it's amazing. I see it every day. We see invoices pop into the system, and no human hands touched it. AI, of course, that's the big bug. I'm sure a lot of people are on here wondering what AI is all about. Listen, if we all had a crystal ball, we'd all be rich, right? We'd all have stock shares in Nvidia. But the reality is this: it's here. It's helping workflows become more efficient. That's and if you're not using AI on a day-to-day basis, I use it all day, every day, just in terms of the processes, helping KPIs, and it just makes your life so much easier. We use it every day. We have a lot of exciting things we want to do with it. It's just a matter of time and the focus of that.
Yeah, reading invoice. I mean, historically, what you're doing is RPA, robotic process automation, and it was pretty heavily done by IBM in the
Yeah.
insurance industry because there's a lot of paper forms. But
Yes.
we've seen the same thing, right? And you get BOLs that are paper based, and so that's how we end up. We've implemented an AI BOL reader, but yeah, the same thing with
Yep.
the invoices. And I think a big part of AI, I know people get concerned about it, but the
Yeah.
great areas, if you have repetitive things that you're doing, like reading invoices and transcribing them into, a system, that's
Yeah.
a great area for it. I think people
Yes.
also think that it's going to be able to magically fix something that they can't do, but the
That's right.
core place of looking at it is, hey, are you doing things that are highly repetitive? And if you are, is it possible to automate that? And I think what y'all have done is a really good
Yeah.
example of that. And it's safe, and I think that's part of your pitch of, well, this is why we save you so much time,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just the fact that the customer's no longer doing that manual process of reading an invoice and delivery ticket is amazing. Like, we know, in a part, it's funny because the system works so well, we don't need to talk to customers as much as we used to, because the automation process has made it not necessary. So you got to continue to engage and ask those questions. And I think this is the first step in terms of using AI. But I do think, for your listeners and for everybody in this industry, AI is here, and for the next, year or two, it's really going to be about making workflows efficient. But if you don't have that foundation, that software foundation, you're AI is not going to help you. AI needs a place to go, a roadmap, and then it's going to, plug it in and go to work. But you've got to have a nice base. Otherwise, um, you know, w- you're way behind is all I
I
can tell
know
you.
this is kind of hits both the technology and the people side. How many, like, what kind of tech skills are you seeing with the
Yeah.
rental companies or the customers that they need? Do you see them needing that? Is this something that they need to go hire somebody, or where, like, what do you think they need to have?
That's such a great question. And I built this isn't like a this isn't a derogatory thing or anything, but we call this fat fingers, okay? We've got 4 buttons for contractors. If you got gloves on a job site, if you want to look up a job, add a job, cancel a job, you can do it with gloves on. And in terms of your experience or knowledge of software, it's very minimal. I mean, if you know how to log in, if you know how to, tap on a link and then log in and put your email and your password, that's all you need. What's amazing to me though is the amount of stuff we learn from the customers, and even people that are, maybe not tech savvy. It's just that they have a pain, and then we've had some really brilliant enhancements by just people going, man, if this could do this, that would save me 2 hours this week. So to answer your question, you don't need a ton of experience in software. This is a very simple tool to use.
What about the AI side of things in terms of, where do you see, obviously software companies like both of us are implementing it. Have you seen customers doing anything? I can give you a couple of examples of ours but have you seen any of your customers using it as well?
Well, I think that the discussions now are really about how they're using it for their own workflows, their ERPs, and how to make it more efficient. That's the big topic now with AI. I think also, I've had a discussion with a fuel supplier saying, well, why do I need any software now? I mean, I could probably build my own using AI. I mean, that
Yeah.
that truly is that's a statement I just got like a month ago. And I go, man, that's not how it's going down, man. Um, so yeah, I think it's really about, AI, of course, is here. I think people are still scratching their head how it's going to work. From my experience in software, it's about making your workflow efficient. If your workflow is not nailed down and really strong, I think you could be wasting a lot of money going down the AI rabbit hole.
One of our Canadian customers had asked for some data, which we provided, and they said they needed to combine data from a number of other systems, and
Yeah.
they asked about, how to do a report, and they basically came back and decided that they like we'll just use AI, which is actually a good, in the past, there's been
Yeah.
tools like extract, transform, and load ETL tools,
Right.
things like that. But I think the ability to build agents with tools like N8N and other things like that, and it makes it much easier to start scripting things and putting them together. And it does take some technical skills. I would tell
Yeah.
you that for the audience, there's a lot of things that get built if you don't have some technical knowledge. There's been a number of instances where people
Yeah.
have built SaaS applications and they put them on a couple of hosting things and they didn't know how it was set up and they ended up having all the passwords leaked. Others ended up with a
Yeah.
$10,000 a month bill because they didn't realize how it was going to go. I'm not to scare people.
Right.
It's important for people just to, if you're not getting started with it, it's important to get started and looking at it.
That's right.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how it can compare, how you can program integration with things as well and have it take action on stuff, right? So, and I
Right.
think a big part of where y'all started too, it feels like every time we talk is that yours has been really on the customer, really
Yes.
customer facing and being able to make it easier to do business. So reading emails is another example of a
Right.
repetitive task, and being able to place orders via email and read that and have some logic behind it. Those are
That's
the
right.
kind of things that are great steps to be able to use AI. And, it's because it's the customer, the customer service aspect is really a big part of where we see from our side, it's either people are either focused on customer service or they're focused on efficiency. Not that both don't
Right.
matter, but a lot of lubricants distributors are really focused on the customer service side of things, whereas
That's
a lot
right.
of our fuel customers tend to be more efficiency. But yeah, just that ease of doing business is such an important part, you know.
It really is, and Chris, it is so complicated, your customers and their workflows, their ERPs, and just their day-to-day business. There's so many things, inventory and dispatch. I mean, it's the onion is unbelievable to unravel. And for us, we are the front end solution to mutual customers, right? Our partners, our jobbers out there, we're not here to hurt you guys at all. I mean, that I don't I can't describe, I can't stress that enough. But what you'll see is, because we're coming, right? We're going full tilt. We're talking to customers all over the country now, and they're starting to really listen and pay attention. But the exciting thing for me is, because this is where I come from. I'm a jobber. I may be a small guy, but when I when I see another jobber that realizes, man, he's not hurting us at all, and if I play ball, and if I really focus on that software and be able to talk to his, I can be in a really good spot. And I that's the future. There is no doubt. The customers that we have and share, they are going to push integration. They're going to push technology. They're not going to push handwritten tickets and manual invoicing that takes 7 days. That world is going away. And it's not like a rude statement. It's just the reality is that it needs to be done. You
Yeah.
know, for all of our sakes, because we've all lived on spreadsheets and all this manual processes. And I know from my own experience, software has made it so much easier in terms of my lifestyle and managing. I can go anywhere and manage any customer and any job on this. I can sit at the beach, I can manicure my mustache, and I'm not stuck on a manual spreadsheet. And I get excited when I go to a new customer's office and they show me a spreadsheet. I'm like, here we go. This is awesome, you know?
I know you told me that. We get excited when we see that, or we see the
Yeah.
stacks of paper, you know.
Stacks of papers. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Yeah. We're close to the end.
Okay.
So I do a lightning round. So this is my lightning round with you.
Okay.
So and one answer quickly. So
Okay.
the bonus questions. What's the craziest aha moment a customer shared with you after going live?
Um, it was literally not having to check their spreadsheet or add anything to it. It's already automated. That was mind blowing.
And what's one feature that most surprises customers?
The ease of use, just literally so easy. 1 minute.
And if you could add, you can snap your fingers and add one more AI feature, what's next?
I'm not going to tell you because we're going to do it.
Okay, that's a fair statement. One piece of advice for your customers.
Don't be afraid of technology. It's going to help you. Don't be afraid of it. It's here.
One piece of advice for your suppliers, the partners.
We are not going to hurt you. We're just going to help you. We're going to enhance your experience for our mutual customer.
And then the last question, when you look forward 2 to 3 years from now, where do you think in 2 or 3 years AI will have the biggest impact? We'll look back and go, wow, I didn't.
Well, I think all the workflows, the ERPs are going to get so dialed in and amazing. It's going to be not minutes, but seconds of just, beautiful workflow, seamlessly integrated with everybody. That is going to be mind blowing. Like, when I look at it, it's going to be a connection machine, where softwares like yours and mine, hopefully, God willing, are going to be a part of that new marketplace, because that's where we're going. We're going to a new marketplace.
Yeah, we're looking forward, and so that's the
Yeah.
end. If there's questions, please. I don't see any in the Q&A, but if anybody has any questions, please ask now. We're working together to
Yep.
integrate the two systems so that somebody can place an order in yours and get it sent
Yes.
over directly to us from a routing standpoint. There's some things to do in there, like in TMS systems, it's called waterfall tendering, where if you tender to one uh, carrier and they can't make it, then they have an ability to electronically reject it and have somebody else do it. But I don't know that we'll quite start at that level, but just the ability to
Right.
have the two systems integrated. Hey, you can place an order, and then when you deliver using our app, then it'll show up
That's
immediately
right.
in the Ally Fuels application, and so you'll get all of that stuff. And so, yeah, we expect to see that. So, yeah, this
Super
is good.
excited
It's
about that.
exciting, and we're excited to continue working with you. I think it's
Yeah,
really cool what you've built in terms of a national platform. And like you said, you pivoted, but that's kind of the software side of things, right? I
there it
mean,
is.
you kind of keep having to go until you can find out a good fit
Yeah,
for it. So, and you guys
absolutely.
are taking off, which is why it's such a great time to talk.
It is, Chris. I mean, like I said, it's been a 10-year overnight success story, but the future is here, right? And that's what I love about you guys. You guys got it. It was probably the easiest initial conversation I think I've ever had in terms of this market and somebody that's a software guy. You guys figured it out quickly. Like, oh, this is great. It's a mutually beneficial strategy that we're implementing.
Yeah. I will send this out afterwards, but if anybody wants to get in touch with Mike, I've got his email here. It's mike.murphy@allyfuels.com. Mine is chenry@bizspeed.com. But feel free to email Mike directly, or you can email me, and I'll or Charlie, and we'll put you in touch with Mike. I think that your your platform, it's always exciting to see complementary partners grow. We view BizSpeed as an ecosystem. So we have a
Yeah,
routing engine, but we have a couple of partners that if somebody wants, super advanced routing, they've got customers with 5,000 trucks, right? Well,
yeah,
it's a more advanced system. So we
right.
view you guys, that's why if you were to ask, well, hey, how do we fit in with you? We view it as an ecosystem. And there
That's it.
is a little bit of overlap, but we view it as, it's better to partner with somebody and grow together. And I think that that's a good opportunity, and we're looking forward to that. So,
You nailed it, Chris. That's exactly that's the new future. It is the ecosystem is here, and I'm super excited about it. Really
yeah.
am.
Awesome. Well, we'll uh, get the video edited and then sent out. So if somebody didn't make this, then they can get it, or if you want to forward it to somebody else. So expect that in a week or so. And we look forward to keeping working with you. Thanks very much for
Yeah,
doing this. It's always great. So,
loved it. Thank you, Chris.
all right. See you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks.